Hello everyone, I'm here to talk about performance tasks and rubrics for teaching English to young learners too. Okay, we're going to talk about the introduction, which has the key characteristics and the types, and the why, the reasons of it, and how, the criteria and developing criteria, and also students' involvement. And then last but not least, we also will conclude this one. Okay, first, for the introduction, what are performance tasks? Well, actually, performance task is something that we need to evaluate the actual performance skills. So, is it enough to only evaluate all the content, knowledge, skills, and growth performance using only one type of assessment? Of course not. That's why we need this one, performance task. Okay, in performance task, we have the key characteristics. There are two people who proposed this one, Lewin and Schumacher in 1998. And in the same year, Gronlund also proposed the key characteristics. From Lewin and Schumacher, we have choice in selecting the task. So for having the task, we need to choose the correct task. And then next we have elaboration of core knowledge and use of specific purposes. We need to have the specific purpose for each task. And then explicit scoring system. Explicit means that the test takers has to know what needs to be scored, what things to be scored. And then larger audience. And then last one is crafted to measure. So this one is adapted. The task rubrics should be adapted to what is need to be measured. And then Groundlund have the 4 key characteristics with first, greater realism, greater complexity, and then greater time needed, and greater use of a judgment in scoring. So according to Brownlund, we need to have the complexity and realism in the rubric, and also need to pay attention to the time needed and how to judge the scoring. And then next we have the types. For this one, we have extended performance tasks, which needs less structure, of course, but broad in scope. For example, a written proposal, or a diagram, or a videotape. It has broader scope. So it's not only to like paper and pencil test, but it's more than that. And then initial and creative problem solving. And I think this one is the one that is needed in 21st century, problem solving. And next we have applying what they've learned to life. So instead of having the theory, they will apply the theory to what they have from what they have learned to the life application. And then this is the example of creating performance tasks. Like you have the subject area here, what subject area, and then the grade level, and then task description, what you need the students to do, and then instruction for them, direct instruction for whole class. For example, here, class lecture from the school nurse on the effects of will be involved in the following. The whole class will be involved in the following learning experience. So one should be the guest lecturer, and then the other becomes the training in computer graphic design, and then another one is lectures and discussions on health risks related to smoking. And this one is the group work. Students may select their group, where they go to group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4 with the details of each group. And then individual work is included there as well. And the methods of assessment is also mentioned there. This one is teacher-made task on the health risk of smoking, and then rubrics is included there, and then checklist to assess what things to assess the criteria for poster and portfolios. And then next, the reason of it. What's the reason of having performance tasks? First, because there's a dissatisfaction with selected responses. The test that is outside of the performance task, not enough, not enough to evaluate all the skills needed, and that's why we have the performance task here. And then next we have influence of cognitive psychology. Uh, Cognitive psychology, because of the needs in psychology. So we have this one, performance task. And then next, we have the sometimes harmful instructional impact of conventional tasks. Sometimes the conventional task has a harm effect. And then next, we have the application of knowledge to a real life experience. That's why we have performance tasks. Well, actually, it will evaluate actual performance skills, which will help students to prepare their life. For example, here, later, if you just want to have the factual knowledge, you can just tell the students to uh, give the details of the parts. Which one is the part of, which one from the parts of the letter that is needed to know. That's a factual knowledge. In other words, we say theory. And then if you want to have the performance task, you can ask the students to write letter. That's the real performance. And then how to do that one? Yeah, from the existing or from the, you can use the existing performance task or you can create your own. And for the example of that one, I'll give it to you after this one. And then we can also have the criteria and you can also develop the criteria. In other words, rubrics. This is the developing criteria, the rubrics or scoring guidelines. For example, giving speech. I'll give you example on giving speech. This one, the sample criteria for judging performance. For speech, you can have the organization maybe, or the research, or opening, how's the opening, and then eye contact, and then gestures. And if you want to have the problem solving, you can judge their identifying problem, brainstorm solutions, analyze solution, and maybe evaluate effectiveness. These are the examples of the criteria for rubrics that you can have. And then go back to the next one. For developing criteria, we also have a fun rubric. For fun rubric, it's a kind of rubric that is not conventional one, but it can be used for fun. Like, for example, this one, especially for young children, they will love it. Rubric for assessing a birthday party, for example. The criteria, you can use this 1, 2, 3, 4. I need to go home and do my homework. That's the first one. Or if they can go to the next level, level 2, I can't say I've got chores at home. And the third level, higher than that, with the speech criteria speech, can I spend the night? Or the highest one, the advanced one, level 4 is, will you adopt me? And for that one, the criteria is this one, food, gifts, entertainment, and games. For food, if they just use steamed broccoli and carrots, then it's still in level 1. If they can have a super deluxe or super supreme pizza, deep dish, then they go to the advanced level. So it's gifts, entertainment, or games. This is an example of fun rubrics. And then for next one, as Solomon quotes in Solomon's in 1998 quotes, rubric is a set of guidelines for distinguishing between performances or products of different quality. That's why we have the level 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the different quality. Okay, and yeah, less is more. It means that the you don't have to give the complicated assignment task for them, but if students can perform fewer, but it is done in a more in-depth performance, then it will be better for them than they do it with conventional paper and pencil testing. And yeah, this is a type of scales. You can have only numerical scales like start from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, or start from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or maybe you can have a numerical scale with verbal descriptors. You can have the number and verbal descriptor like weak, satisfactory, very good, excellent, and then superior. Or you just have the verbal descriptors like novice, adequate, apprentice, distinguished, or task not complete, task partially completed, task completed. And this one is the descriptive scale for eye contact during speech. You can have no evidence, minimal evidence, partial evidence, and then complete evidence. Or you can have doesn't look at you can have it more details, like a longer one doesn't look at audience, looks some of the time at some of the audience. This one is more detailed than the first criterion. Looks most of the time at most of the audience, and looks all the time. The difference is on this one, doesn't look some of the time and some of the audience. This one is most of the time and most of the audience. And then the advanced one is all the time and all of the audience. And this one is the example of assessing a speech. We can have the organization here, how the students have the hook, the transitions, the closures, and with the descriptors here, and then the content, how they have the accuracy, documentation, quotations, the delivery, how the eye contact, the volume, the gestures, the visual aid, how they make the graphics appeal, the relevance. And for this one, we have the level not yet, or students' council elections, the Senate floor, or the advanced one is the presidential debates. This is the example of it. And then next, we have student involvement. For student involvement, we have the process. First is to give the students example of work from different levels. So from there, we can ask them to brainstorm. What is the criteria of a level 1, of a level 2, level 3? And they can describe it together with the teacher, of course. And then the key elements, they can select 4 or 5 criteria. So they can have a certain criteria, only 4 or 5 criteria, like the level 1, 2, 3, 4, or until 5. And then this one is the example of a performance task in designing a travel brochure. You can have it more detailed, like for the standards. This is like a goal, an aim for them. What you need to do is to demonstrate competence in general skills and strategies of writing process, gather and use information for research processes, and benchmarks for this one. Write speeches that convey an intended purpose, which is to describe, to explain, to market. Writes for an intended audience, tourists. So this is the target for them, the target audience, the tourists. So travel brochure for a country. This is the instruction. You work for the Department of Tourism for the country you selected for your research report. Your task is to design an attractive and informative brochure to attract tourists to your country. You must include the following. So if it is said that you must include the following, you have to use this one in your rubric. Like an attractive cover, we have it here, attraction. A brief history of the country, you have the history. You can also add the cover here. And then weather information, you also have weather here, and the cost, you also have cost here, and testimonials from visitors with the level. 0 means none, 1, you can see the difference in the level. This one with 2 colors, no graphics. This one with graphics, but still 2 colors. This one 3 colors with graphics. So that there is a difference in the level. The higher level, the higher requirements that the teachers ask, the rubric asks you. And then, for example, here the cost, this one only hotel only, and then second hotel and travel, and third you can have hotel, travel and dining plus tip. And then next we have, yeah, as I mentioned earlier, if you want to create your own performance task and then involving students, you can use this one as given example previously. Subject area, learn is what's your subjects, and then grade level, and then learning standard is the aim, the goal for this one. The task description, as mentioned here, description is the benchmark, and then direct instruction for whole class, and then group work. You have to give the description of what to do in group 1, group 2, group 3, 4, 4. And then individual work. This one is the individual assignments and methods of assessment. How to do this one? Do you want them to record that one or whatever it is? Okay. And then, yeah, all in all, I'd like to say, is it sufficient to evaluate all content, knowledge, skills, growth, performance with only one type of assessment? Of course not. That's why we have performance tasks here to evaluate their performance, so that they won't know only theory, but they have to apply it in the real life experience. This is the rubric for each level, like this one for primary, more simple one, but interesting because you also have the picture here, book 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this is levels. One is, the description is this one, knows only beginning, and then book 2 knows how to read some words, and then how to read most words, this one, book 3, book 4, how to read the entire book, that's the difference. And then you also have the dates here, and score, sign also included there. And then for middle school, computer literacy skill, you can have it like this one, name, date, the topic, type of assessment, the score, how to do this one, direction, circle the score for each indicator, and then terminology, organization and creativity with each description. And then high school oral presentation rubric, you can have, for high school is more complicated, but you have their skill. This one 5, it means A, 4 means B, and then D 2 means D, 1 means not yet, with each description here. So the 5 is the highest level. And then college, this one is more complicated because you also have the calculation of each score, so that students can score it by themselves. And this one you have the score from low to high, 1 to 5. Content, so the difference is, for the high school you have the description. Here you have the description, but not exactly on which score is that. So for each description of the criteria, you decide your own description, you decide your own level, which one is that, from content, organization, usage, mechanics, and then total score there. Okay, my questions for all of you beloved friends. First one, is it possible to make own rubrics involving young learners in Indonesia? And then give the reasons of it. And second, is there any disadvantages of using rubrics to score students' work? If yes, what are they? Thank you. And have a nice day, everyone. Bye-bye.